There is a specific kind of heaviness that comes with loving someone while simultaneously feeling like you are losing your mind. It starts as a small flicker in your chest, a subtle shift in the temperature of a conversation, a text message that feels slightly more formal than the one before, or a silence that used to feel comfortable but now feels like a wall. Most people will tell you that you're overthinking. They'll tell you that you're being too much or that you need to work on your self esteem. But what if the voice in your head isn't an insecurity? What if it's an instruction? If you find yourself constantly reaching for reassurance, constantly asking, "Are we okay?" or searching for proof that you are still wanted, I want you to stop and breathe for a second. You are not broken. You are not needing because you are empty. You are reacting because you are perceptive. We live in a world that pathologizes feelings. We call people anxious or clingy the moment they notice a change in a pattern. But your nervous system is designed to keep you safe, and in a relationship, safety is built on the foundation of consistency. When that foundation cracks, when the words stay sweet but the actions grow cold, your body notices before your mind does. It's like standing on a floor that is slowly tilting. Your brain is trying to tell you everything is level, but your inner ear knows you're about to fall. Think about the beginning. Think about the way they used to look at you, the way they made time, the way you never had to wonder where you stood because they stood right there in front of you, clearly. You didn't need reassurance back then, did you? You weren't insecure in those early months. That's because consistency is the natural cure for anxiety. When someone is clear with you, your mind is free to rest. But when the effort begins to fade quietly, not with a bang, but with a slow, agonizing leak, your mind has to fill in the gaps. You start playing detective. You replay old voice notes to see if their tone has changed. You check their last scene not because you're a stalker, but because you're looking for the person you used to know. You are trying to bridge the gap between who they promised to be and who they are being right now. The exhaustion of this is immense. It is a quiet, lonely kind of tired. It's the kind of tired that stays with you even after 8 hours of sleep. It comes from the mental labor of translating fine into what it actually means. It comes from the weight of carrying the emotional awareness for two people. You start to feel like a burden for having needs. You start to apologize for your feelings. You say, "I'm sorry, I'm just being crazy." Or, "I'm sorry, I'm just having a bad day." Because it's easier to blame yourself than it is to admit that the person you love is withdrawing. It is a terrifying realization to admit that the person who once provided your peace is now the primary source of your chaos. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Reassurance is a temporary bandage on a deep wound of inconsistency. You can ask them if they still love you, and they can say, "Of course." You can ask them if they're going anywhere, and they can say, "Never." And for 5 minutes or maybe 5 hours, you feel better. You feel like you can breathe again. But then the next morning comes, and the phone stays silent, or the eye contact is missing, or the plans remain vague, and the anxiety rushes back in. It returns because words cannot fix what actions are breaking. You aren't looking for words, you're looking for the feeling of being chosen, and you can't narrate someone into choosing you. We often stay in this loop because we are afraid of the answer we'll find if we stop asking for reassurance. We think that if we just keep checking in, if we just keep fixing things, we can hold the relationship together by sheer force of will. We treat love like a fire that we have to keep blowing on just to keep the embers glowing. But love shouldn't feel like a chore. It shouldn't feel like a second job where you aren't getting paid. There is a profound difference between a relationship having a hard patch and a relationship having a pattern of neglect. A hard patch is two people holding hands while they walk through a storm. Neglect is one person standing in the rain while the other watches from the window, wondering why they're getting so wet. I want you to consider the possibility that you are not too much. You might just be asking for a steak at a place that only serves appetizers. You might be bringing a gallon's worth of love to someone who only has a cup's worth of capacity. That doesn't make them a bad person, and it certainly doesn't make you a broken one. It just means there is a fundamental mismatch in the way you value connection. Some people are comfortable in the shallow end. They like the idea of love, the fun of it, the convenience of it. But the moment the water gets deep, the moment it requires vulnerability, sustained effort, and the courage to show up even when it's boring, They pull back. And if you're a person who lives in the deep end, their withdrawal feels like a personal rejection. The most painful part of this is the silence. Not just their silence, but the silence you impose on yourself. You stop saying what you feel because you don't want to start another argument. You shrink yourself to fit into the small space they've left for you. You become a shadow of the person you used to be, someone who was once vibrant, confident, and full of life, now reduced to someone who waits for a vibrating phone to decide if they're going to have a good day or a bad day. You have handed the remote control of your internal peace to someone who doesn't even realize they're holding it. It takes a lot of courage to stop asking for reassurance and start looking at the reality. It takes courage to say, I am going to stop asking you to love me the way I need to be loved, and I am going to start watching how you choose to love me on your own. Because when you stop asking, the truth reveals itself very quickly. If the only thing keeping the connection alive was your constant checking in, then the connection wasn't really there to begin with. It was just a reflection of your effort. Healing from this doesn't happen by finding the right words to make them understand. It happens by realizing that you shouldn't have to explain your heart to someone who was supposed to be its home. You deserve a love that is a soft place to land, not a puzzle you have to solve every morning. You deserve to be with someone whose consistency makes your insecurity vanish because they never give it a reason to grow. So, if you are listening to this and you feel that familiar ache in your chest, if you are waiting for a text that you know isn't coming with the energy you deserve, I want you to give that reassurance to yourself. Tell yourself, I am not crazy. I am not too much. I am noticing a change because there is a change. And once you accept that, you stop being a victim of someone else's inconsistency and you start being the guardian of your own peace. It is better to be lonely by yourself than to be lonely while sitting right next to someone. One is a temporary state, the other is a slow erosion of your soul. Choose yourself. Choose the truth, even if it hurts, because the truth is the only thing that can finally set you free from the exhaustion of wondering. You've been holding on so tight that your hands are bleeding. It's okay to let go. It's okay to breathe. It's okay to want a love that doesn't make you guess.